Just to bring everybody up to date on the main points in Minnesota, and you guys can roll these elements if you want. You don't need to play them in full. Last night, the governor gave an address to the state, tried to make it seem like a big deal in terms of its staging. You'll see it here. There were some technical issues that people on the right made fun of, but he basically tried to make the case that there was no news in it. He just said Minnesota needs to, be an example for the world. Don't engage in violence. Criticize the president. There you see the framing. That's a kind of a formal thing. Then there was a shooting of an illegal immigrant accused by ICE.
We do have a DHS statement
of attacking ICE officials. Shot in the leg in the hospital. One of the ICE officers also in the hospital. People are skeptical, as always. We should be, about government accounts, regardless of who the government is, about what actually happened. Then the mayor had a press conference, and once again, same rhetoric from the mayor about this can't stand, and people shouldn't protest violently, but that ICE needs to go. There you see that. Then this morning, and this happened just a few minutes ago, really, the president went on Truth Social and he posted this, and it's getting a ton of attention. My phone's got all the news alerts on it. Again, no offense to the president, I just don't take these things all that seriously. He may never bring it up again. But the president's now saying he might do something that's been talked about, invoke the Insurrection Act. So here's the president on Truth Social just a few minutes ago. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter, DJT. Kevin, who was the last president to invoke the Insurrection Act? Under what circumstances?
I know Kennedy and Eisenhower did during the desegregation era.
All right. Hogan, who was the last one?
I don't remember who the last one was, but was it Arkansas and Faubus?
Nope. President H.W. Bush and the riots in L.A. 1992. Rodney King. Okay. So again, always try to be forward-looking. Kevin, where are we headed in this face-off?
Yeah, I think, the president has threatened this before, obviously in the wake of the George Floyd situation, the situation with LA. He's talked about the Insurrection Act before. And again, I think, to Hogan's point, oftentimes the president says what he's going to do. Oftentimes he also uses this rhetoric to kind of pressure people to take an action. What I would love to see happen is Tim Walz to call up the president and say, I will assist with local resources if you're not just indiscriminately targeting folks. If you have a list of folks that you want to go after, I will provide local support to protect those ICE agents. But if you're just going to round people up at gas stations or check people because of how they look, that's going to be problematic. And as I've said before, if you're protesting and you're throwing things, you're getting in people's faces, it's reported, that this guy, Margaret that was shot, attacked the cop, then all power to the law enforcement to hold up the law and to maintain some semblance of peace. But I hope cooler heads will prevail with all this. And I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Hogan, I want to give you a hypothetical. The graveyards of journalism in the Democratic Party are filled with people saying, well, Trump's now on the wrong side of this issue. Maybe it worked before, but this thing ain't going to work now. Just talking about the politics of this. This one might be different. We've now seen lots of public polls. There's a lot of private Democratic data. And it's all quite clear. People are overwhelmingly against the ICE operation. They think it's making America less safe, not more safe. They're very much against the shooting and blame ICE for that. What kind of numbers would Tony Fabrizio have to show the president for the president to change course rather than continue to be confrontational? If it came back that 80% of Republicans said this was a bad idea, he would change course. But how bad would it have to be?
Okay, well, first of all, I think you're hitting on something kind of important to the political dynamic here, because I think one of the unappreciated superpowers of this president is to get Democrats to be on the wrong side of the issue wherever
100%,
Americans are. And so in this particular issue, because you're seeing some people angry at ICE, I think it's incumbent, basically every member of Congress, every member of any political organization, the administration included, to basically give the choice then to the American people and quit focusing necessarily on the law and order piece and more on the people piece. You'll recall when the administration put victims' pictures behind the live locations at the White House, so you had to see the victims. You had to be confronted with victims. making the connection that here's who we are arresting and here's who we are getting out of this country. It's a political battle. It's like messaging during a shutdown.
100%. Did
You
you see?
have to flood the zone with that information as opposed to necessarily the deportations, which, by the way, I think a lot of people want. I'm for them 100%. Don't get me wrong. But I think putting more feeling and or faces to the actual problem, and this is crude and crass, but I'm going to say it anyway. It almost be like in the New Testament where Pontius Pilate puts up Jesus and Barabbas, and the people choose the murderer and the killer, the thief, over Jesus. I'd almost like the administration to haul them into the square and go, all right, guys, this one's for child rape. This one raped 2 children. This one killed a family. This one. Now, which communities would you like me to put them back into? Yeah. And let them make that choice.
To your point, Fox News had a story that said, here are the Minnesotans who were killed by illegal immigrants over the years, and the governor and the mayor never said a word about it, never went to their wakes, etc. Kevin,
can I ask Hogan a quick question? Yeah, I mean, you Trump round one, you helped obviously shape the messaging for the State of the Union. How much of this will be part of that? You know, thinking about the gallery with victims' families and things like that. You know, you've helped craft this before. How much will the speech focus on this?
First of all,
and it's coming up in a few weeks.
Yes, it is. And Kevin, kudos to you too, because you are taking the same rational response that anybody would have, where they would say, hey, we need law and order in our communities, but I don't like it this way. They're still moving with the abolish ICE move with Ilhan Omar and stuff. Yeah, it makes no sense. And I think the State of the Union is a good place to highlight that with victims of crime, with agents who pulled and got, known child rapists and murderers and burglars and whatever out, putting them front and center and showing the faces of what we're dealing with here, I think is vitally important. And the State of the Union, while still resonating mostly inside the Beltway and a little bit outside, it does start to put more of a coherent, cohesive selling point, I guess, around which Republicans and I would argue independents and some Democrats could rally, saying,
so you're saying don't fundamentally change the mission, just sell what's going on better, even though the media is going to be against
no. Hold on, let me be careful, because I don't like it. It is most offensive to a voter to tell them what they are seeing or what they are feeling isn't true. What I'm saying is, instead of focusing on, as an administration, the law and order piece, which I love, again, I'm for it, but writ large, I think you focus on the humanity of the American citizen who is being devastated with crime by these illegal aliens. Focus on our people and the faces of the suffering, as opposed to the enforcement to get them out, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.